What if everything you led was a platform? Your business model, your operating rhythm, even the products you bring to market. Platforms are everywhere. Every enterprise has them. ERP, CRM, data lakes, digital front ends, supply chains, all sorts of ecosystems. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most enterprises treat them as tools, as systems of record, as IT investments to be maintained rather than engines to be led. Yet, in every transformation I have witnessed, one fact stands out. Platforms are not neutral. They either compound execution or they fragment it. They either open new markets or they exhaust capital. That is why platform leadership is not an IT strategy. It is a leadership stance. Hi, I'm Mirza Chughtai, and this is part 7, Platform Leadership, the Alignment Paradox. In today's episode, I'll walk you through what it means to lead through platforms, to see them not as back office enablers, but as the operating system of the enterprise. Because the real question is no longer can we execute at scale? The real test is can we align ecosystems, multiply execution, and monetize platforms as revenue engines all at once? Let us begin with this paradox. First off, technology does not define the platform. It enables the lens. And platform thinking is not the domain of technologists alone. It belongs in the boardroom where strategy must be seen as an ecosystem, not a pipeline. It belongs with business leaders and operators who carry the responsibility of execution at scale. And it belongs with P&L owners who shape the market-facing platforms that generate growth and cash flow. Platform leadership is not about central control. It is about creating the shared leverage that makes distributed autonomy possible. It is the methodology for alignment at scale. It shifts the board's role from approving isolated initiatives to governing the system in which all initiatives align. Because when alignment is structural, not situational, execution compounds, innovation integrates, and growth becomes coherent by design. Transformation does not fail because leaders lack principles. If anything, they are surrounded by them. Leaders do not drown for lack of truths. They drown because those truths remain unbraided. Initiatives surge with intent, then stall under the weight of competing priorities. Strategy fragments, culture drifts, execution loses its coherence. That is why platform leadership thinking matters. It is the discipline that weaves many imperatives into one coherent system. Without platform thinking, principles remain scattered on paper, competing for attention but never compounding into power. With it, clarity compounds, velocity scales, responsibility and innovation flourishes without silos. Platform leadership is the discipline of alignment, and it reveals itself through 3 distinct forms, the only 3 vantage points from which transformation truly scales. 1. From business to ecosystem, where boards and C-suites embed non-negotiables and transparent principles into strategy. 2. The productivity engine, where senior leaders build internal platforms that multiply execution by weaving guardrails, governance, and resilience into daily operations. And three, platforms as products, where P&L owners transform trust and interoperability into monetization and growth. Three lenses, one discipline. Platform leadership is how leaders move from scattered ambition to transformation that sticks. Let's explore discipline one, from business to ecosystem, seeing the enterprise as a platform. Did you know that forward-looking boards and modern C-suites are moving away from seeing the enterprise as a collection of business units, functions, or product lines across verticals? The companies that endure longest and scale with clarity see something different. They see the enterprise itself as a platform. When leaders adopt this lens, something profound happens. Standards once confined in a single division, customer care, partner engagement, employee well-being, even ethical guardrails, become the company standards. Trust and culture are no longer living in a silo. Excellence is not the possession of a single business line, and leadership values are no longer negotiated vertically. They are applied universally. Because how you treat customers, partners, employees, and communities is not defined by a said vertical. It is the enterprise standard, the measure by which the whole company's reputation is judged. Here's what that looks like when applied at scale. I saw this firsthand while serving on the advisory board of a Fortune 150 SaaS provider as they crossed $10 billion in revenue. The company had grown organically since the dot-com era, already recognized as a pioneer in SaaS and platform thinking. Yet, as they looked ahead, the challenge was clear. Organic growth alone would not carry them into the next decade. Together, we advised the board and C-suite to expand their lens beyond customer-facing platforms and see the enterprise itself as a platform. Growth, we argued, would need three prongs. Organic growth, which they had already mastered. A disciplined M&A engine to buy innovation and expand market cap. And critically, the enterprise as a platform, where their own technology became the foundation to onboard acquisitions, integrate talent, extend culture, and eliminate misalignment. This reframing proved decisive. It allowed the enterprise to enter the AI space at speed. It opened doors to scarce top-tier AI talent. It unlocked new markets like public sector, fintech, and advanced manufacturing without factoring their culture or standards. Most importantly, it forced them to treat data, the lifeblood of AI, not as a departmental challenge, but as a company-wide standard. This led to the creation of a partner ecosystem entirely focused on data observability, and two very strategic acquisitions on data observability that embedded best-in-class functionality directly into their core platform. By removing this dependence on external integration layers, they secured a foundation on which AI acquisitions and new markets could all thrive. This is the essence of platform leadership at the board level. Embedding alignment into the operating model itself. When boards choose to see the enterprise as a platform, they shift from approving projects one by one to governing the system in which all projects must align. They set the non-negotiables. They establish transparent principles. They elevate architecture into the language of leadership. And in doing so, they place themselves in the driver's seat of sustainable growth, ensuring that every acquisition, every extension, every new vertical reinforces the enterprise as one coherent platform. Absent this reframing, transformation fragments into a series of disconnected projects. With it, the enterprise becomes a true platform, where alignment is structural, not situational. And growth compounds because every part of the system reinforces the whole. Let's now explore discipline 2, the productivity engine, where platforms multiply execution. Execution at scale is no longer about adding more people, more projects, or more tools. It is about building productivity engines, platforms that convert complexity into flow. Boards that recognize this are shifting their mandate from funding siloed initiatives to governing the engines that sustain them all. Because in a world of acquisitions, multi-speed innovation, and scarce top talent, execution cannot rely on heroics. It must be orchestrated through platforms that multiply outcomes by design. Execution is the heartbeat of transformation, but at scale, execution without orchestration becomes chaos. A flood of parallel projects competing for resources, same tools, and same trust. Platform leadership resolved this by shifting the lens from managing initiatives in isolation to building the system where execution compounds. I saw this firsthand advising a Fortune Global 300 financial institution. Their mandate from the board was very clear: accelerate growth through mergers and acquisitions. But they knew acquisitions alone would not deliver the growth. Integration would decide whether value was realized or squandered. Their answer was very bold: build a one-of-a-kind enterprise cloud platform to orchestrate execution at scale, spanning 100,000 plus employees across 5 continents. Their ambition was not incremental. It was to reimagine execution itself, to give every employee, from the new hire to senior developer, a self-service digital workspace that scaled with their role. To embed zero trust from day zero, reducing the attack surface before it could even form. To secure data at every stage, in creation, in motion, and at rest. To match autonomy with accountability through role-based access to enterprise tools. To compress onboarding from 4 months to 4 weeks, so even acquired talent could promote work into production in their first month. They further wanted to classify enterprise data end-to-end, so compliance was never an afterthought. And they needed to unlock AI-powered insights across structured and unstructured data, governed with role-based controls that ensured trust at scale. This was not a checklist. It was the blueprint for a productivity engine designed to make execution inevitable. To achieve this, they built three abstraction layers. The experience layer, a unified front end for every user. The orchestration layer, workflow engines that guaranteed statefulness, ensuring integrations could resume from the point of failure. And lastly, the domain automation layer, where network, storage, compute, firewalls, backups, and databases were all automated. And across all three layers, security, monitoring, and observability were embedded by design. The result was more than just technical elegance. It was capital efficiency, risk reduction, and cultural alignment at scale. Faster onboarding protected execution value and eliminated any duplicate systems. Every dollar invested returned multiples in operating leverage. With zero trust and embedded observability, risk became a structural advantage. The board could pursue bold M&A moves, knowing fines, outages, or drift would not derail growth. Perhaps most importantly, the platform unified the employee experience. Whether in London, Sao Paulo, or Singapore, every new hire entered the same workspace, the same insights, and the same guardrails. Culture scaled because technology scaled. Coherence by design, not by accident. This is what it means to orchestrate execution through platforms. In this case, the board's M&A strategy was not delivered through one-off integration projects. It was sustained through a system that made every integration faster, safer, and more coherent. In mergers and acquisitions, you do not buy growth, you buy potential. And platforms like this turn that potential into realized value, faster, safer, and at scale. Here's our final discipline: platforms as products, where ecosystems become markets. Disciplines 1 and 2 mean nothing if we do not get this one right. Because platforms are not just operating models, they are revenue engines. Boards and business leaders understand that alignment and productivity are prerequisites. But the reason they matter is here: the ability to turn platforms into products that generate growth, penetrate new markets, and deepen relationships with customers, partners, and communities. Some may ask, if revenue is the ultimate goal, why not start here? For startups, that logic holds. Platforms are designed from day one to monetize. But for large enterprises, the challenge is different. They already have revenue, customers, and products in motion. Transformation that sticks requires coherence before monetization. Without it, attempts to productize platforms collapse into chaos. Disconnected marketplaces, fragmented experiences, and wasted capital. But when the foundation is in place, platforms become the enterprise's most scalable asset. Faster code to cash because every transaction flows through the same engine. transparency for customers and partners because platforms create a single pane of glass across pricing, consumption, and value. Stronger communities because platforms sell through into networks, not just into accounts. Deeper loyalty because every interaction compounds, making the platform stickier with every data set, every use case, and every ecosystem participant. I had the privilege of building such a one of a kind platform in a market with fragmented competition, national aggregators, OEM aligned distributors, and under equipped local firms. The platform enabled comprehensive services across the full life cycle of mission critical assets, from design and installation to preventative maintenance, emergency repair, and disposition. But its true power lay in the platform itself. End-to-end enterprise backbone, ERP, CRM, billing, and collections in one system. Lifecycle solutions like fully orchestrated or outsourced management of critical assets. Market-leading analytics, insights well beyond competitors. It was IoT capable, mobile, and web accessible, which made the transparency for clients, technicians, and executives non negotiable. Offering multi trade orchestration, installation for emergency response, and optimized client outcomes that delivered better performance, lower cost, frictionless service. But best of it all, a unified experience, one point of contact across trades, brands, and geographies. This was not just operational excellence, it was a growth engine. Over 5 years, the platform delivered sustained double digit revenue CAGR and margin growth exceeding industry benchmarks while supporting 26 acquisitions. The results compounded because the platform created a differentiated market position competitors just could not easily replicate. We combined technology, data, and service in a way that redefined the entire category. Customers rewarded us with loyalty and spend, and the board gained a revenue engine that expanded total addressable market into new verticals and new geographies. This is the essence of platforms as products. Without monetization, scale is just expense. But when platforms become revenue engines, they compound value for customers, for shareholders, and for the enterprise itself. In transformation, execution without monetization is a cost. But when the platform becomes the product, it becomes the growth engine. Platform leadership is not an IT strategy. It is a leadership stance, one that determines whether transformation compounds or fragments. Because the real question is no longer can we execute at scale. It is can we align ecosystems, multiply execution, and monetize platforms as revenue engines, all at once. Most enterprises are strong in one, some in two. But transformation that sticks requires all three disciplines in concert. Seeing the enterprise as a platform so alignment becomes systemic, not situational. Building the productivity engine so execution compounds, not collides. Turning platforms into products so revenue grows through ecosystems, not in spite of them. This is the test for boards, C-suites, and business leaders. Not whether you have platforms, every enterprise does, but whether those platforms are governed, orchestrated, and monetized as engines of advantage. Because in transformation, execution without monetization is cost. But platforms, when aligned, orchestrated, and monetized, are not cost centers. They are the operating system of the enterprise, the connective tissue between strategy and scale, execution and impact, markets and communities. When boards and executives adopt this stance, platforms stop being tools of efficiency. They become engines of resilience, productivity, and growth. They become the long arc of competitive advantage. And that is why platform leadership must move from principle into practice. As a real measure of leadership is not the strategy you declare, but the questions you are willing to ask in the boardroom, in the C-suite, and in every leadership forum that sets the tone for transformation. Here are a few questions. What is our board mandate for platform leadership? And is it shaping enterprise momentum or reacting to it? Do our platforms reduce friction across acquisitions or magnify it? Where in our enterprise the platforms are enablers and where can they become revenue engines? Do our platforms multiply execution across ecosystems or simply add complexity to silos? Where is revenue leaking because platforms stop at enablement instead of monetization? If you are leading transformation today, do not stop at digital enablement. Lead through platforms. Because when platforms align execution and monetization, they stop being tools of efficiency and start becoming engines of impact. This is Mirza Chughtai. Next up in the Transformation That Sticks series is Part 8, Talent That Transforms, where we explore the most prized asset of any organization, its people, especially the ones who see possibility where others see constraint. Until then, let us keep building with discipline, with clarity, and with conviction. Let's keep building transformation that sticks.